Your labs are perfect. Has anyone ever said that to you while you're sitting there thinking, then why do I still feel like garbage? Sarah is 47. She has Hashimoto's, she's on levothyroxine, and her doctor smiles and says, "Good news, your TSH is normal, your thyroid is controlled." She nods politely, but inside she's screaming, "If this is controlled, why can't I get my life back?" If you live with hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, especially after 40, this might feel uncomfortably familiar. The prescription is written, the lab numbers slide into range, and yet a stubborn group of symptoms just refuses to leave. Some studies suggest that even when thyroid blood tests look normalized, somewhere between about 1 in 10 to almost 1 in 4 patients still feel hypothyroid, not in their charts, but in their actual lives. So no, you're not crazy, you're not lazy, and it's not all in your head. In this video, I want to take a different approach. No magic cures, no miracle protocols, no promises that you'll feel 21 again. We're going to walk through 5 very real, very practical reasons why you can still feel hypothyroid even when your TSH looks normal, and what's actually adjustable in the real world without chasing every new fad on the internet. By the end, you'll have something most people never get: a calm, doctor-friendly checklist you can bring into your next appointment to start a different kind of conversation. Because hypothyroidism is not just a lab number problem. Hashimoto's especially is a whole system problem. Hormones, immune system, sleep, digestion, mood, metabolism, everything is connected. A single line of text on your lab report can't capture that. If you're over 40, you already know your body doesn't bounce back the way it did at 25. You may be juggling perimenopause or menopause, stress, blood sugar issues, joint pain, caregiving, work. Life is louder now. So when someone says, "TSH looks fine, so you should be fine," it can feel dismissive and invalidating. Let's shift that. My position is simple. Levothyroxine is a tool, not magic. It can be life-changing for many people, but it doesn't fix everything by itself. And if you've been secretly blaming yourself because you're still tired on a normal dose, you deserve better information. Let me start with a question for you. If your body could speak without being interrupted by lab numbers, what would it be telling you right now about your energy, your mood, and your quality of life? That answer matters as much as your TSH. To make this practical, I'm going to organize the chaos into 5 buckets, 5 places where things commonly go wrong even when the prescription looks right on paper. Bucket A is absorption mistakes, when the pill never really makes it into your bloodstream. Bucket B is dose timing and consistency, how the same dose can behave differently depending on how you take it. Bucket C is the T4 to T3 conversion issue, why some people don't convert levothyroxine into the active hormone as efficiently. Bucket D is autoimmune brain fog and inflammation, the part standard labs don't really show. And bucket E is everything else that imitates hypothyroid symptoms: sleep issues, anemia, vitamin deficiencies, blood sugar, menopause, mood. We're not going to panic. We're not going to throw out your medication or push you into DIY dosing. Instead, we'll calmly ask which of these buckets might be relevant to you, and what can you and your clinician reasonably adjust in the real world. We'll keep coming back to Sarah's story as we move through each bucket, so you can see how this might play out in real life. Because once you understand why you still feel off, you stop feeling broken, and you start feeling back in charge. Let's start with bucket A, absorption mistakes. Because if levothyroxine never really makes it into your bloodstream, it doesn't matter how perfect the dose looks on paper. Think of levothyroxine like a very picky guest. It wants to arrive in your stomach alone. No food, no coffee, no vitamins, no competition. But what happens in real life? You wake up,
You're rushing, you swallow your pill with a quick sip of coffee, then head straight for breakfast. Or you keep your thyroid pill in the same little container as your calcium, iron, or multivitamin and take them all at once because it's easier. That was Sarah. She took her levothyroxine, a calcium supplement, and her multivitamin all together with morning coffee because that's what fit her routine. From a convenience point of view, totally understandable. From a chemistry point of view, she'd put her medication into a crowd where it could get blocked or downed up before it was absorbed.
Guidelines generally suggest taking levothyroxine on an empty stomach with a full glass of water and then waiting about 30 to 60 minutes before eating or drinking anything but water. Calcium and iron supplements, some antacids, and even soy can interfere with absorption and are usually spaced about 4 hours away from your dose. I'm not saying that if you've ever taken your pill with coffee, you've ruined everything. Life happens. But if you consistently combine your pill with breakfast, coffee, or a supplement pile, your blood levels might look okay while your tissues are still underdosed. So here's a simple self-check. Are you taking your levothyroxine with just water? Are you giving it at least 30 minutes before breakfast, most days, not just once in a while? Are you separating calcium, iron, or multivitamins by several hours? If you look honestly at the last 7 days, how many mornings did you really give your thyroid pill the empty stomach, no coffee treatment it was prescribed for? For many people, including Sarah, just tightening up those small details, same dose but better timing, makes fatigue and brain fog ease up over a few weeks, not because the dose changed, but because you finally let the dose arrive. Now let's move to bucket B, dose timing and consistency. We talk about dose like it's a number carved in stone. You're on 75 micrograms, full stop. But your body doesn't just care about the number, it cares about rhythm. If one day you take your pill at 6 a.m. before breakfast, the next day at 10 a.m. after breakfast, and the next day you forget and double up at night, you're sending your system a wobbly signal. The average weekly dose might be the same, but the day-to-day hormone curve can swing, and some people are more sensitive to that than others. That was another part of Sarah's story. Her timing was all over the place, some days early, some days late, some days forgotten. Two important points here. First, time of day can be flexible if it's consistent. Many people do well with the classic first thing in the morning, empty stomach. But some actually find it easier and just as effective to take levothyroxine at bedtime, as long as there's a good gap after dinner and nighttime snacks. What matters most is that you and your clinician pick a plan and then you stick with it. Second, missed doses matter more than we admit. Everyone forgets occasionally, but if you're skipping once or twice a week or making up doses in unpredictable ways, your labs might still land in the normal box while your tissues ride a roller coaster. Think of levothyroxine like a slow, steady background soundtrack. It's supposed to be boring and predictable. Every time you change the timing, stack doses, or yo-yo between morning and night, you're scratching the record. This is where a lot of people feel gaslit. But my labs are fine. Sure, but were those labs drawn during a perfect week where you remembered every dose and followed all the rules, while most weeks look very different? Before jumping to, my thyroid meds don't work, it's powerful to ask a few honest questions. Do I take my dose at roughly the same time every day? Do I have at least one anchor habit that helps me remember, like leaving the pill by my toothbrush or using a phone alarm? When my doctor ordered labs, was I in one of my good weeks or a chaotic week? Sometimes the fix isn't an exotic supplement or a brand change, it's boring consistency. Now let's go deeper because this is where so many people, including Sarah, start doubting themselves. We've talked about getting the pill into your system and keeping the rhythm steady. Now we hit bucket C, the T4 to T3 conversion issue. Levothyroxine is T4. T4 is basically a storage hormone, a parent hormone. Your body has to convert that T4 into T3, which is the active form that actually docks on the cells and tells your body, let's make energy, let's warm up, let's think clearly. If T4 is the paycheck, T3 is the money you actually spend. Most of that conversion happens in your liver,
your gut, and a bit in other tissues. And those systems are affected by real life: stress, inflammation, nutrient status, illness, and even dieting too hard for too long. So you can have enough T4 floating around, your TSH can look okay, but your cells are not getting enough T3 where it counts. That's where Sarah ended up after fixing her timing and absorption. Her TSH looked fine, but she still felt like someone had unplugged her from the wall. I'm not saying everyone needs added T3 medication. That's not my call, and it's not safe to treat YouTube like a prescription pad. But the story your body is living and the story your lab report is telling are not always the same.
Some people find that when they finally get tests beyond just TSH, things like free T4, free T3, maybe thyroid antibodies, the picture looks different than "you're perfect, it's in your head." And sometimes the solution isn't even another med. It's improving the terrain where conversion happens: your liver, your gut, and your stress load. Have you ever had the thought, something is off, dismissed because one single lab value was normal, even though your daily life felt anything but normal? If the answer is yes, that doesn't mean your doctor is bad or uncaring. It means the system is built around lab ranges and quick visits, not around the full complexity of your biology. Which brings us to bucket D, autoimmune brain fog and inflammation. If you have Hashimoto's, you don't just have a thyroid problem, you have an immune system problem that happens to be attacking the thyroid. That immune activation doesn't neatly stay in your neck. It can affect how you feel from head to toe, especially in your brain. Think about those days when your memory feels slippery, you lose words mid-sentence, you walk into a room and forget why. You feel heavy, emotionally and physically, like everything is just harder. That was Sarah. On paper, stable, but in real life, she was misplacing things, losing words, and feeling like her brain was wrapped in cotton. Some of that can be the impact of inflammation on your brain and nervous system. Sleep deprivation, blood sugar swings, chronic stress, infections, ultra-processed foods, even loneliness. These can all dial up inflammation. And if you already have an autoimmune condition, your baseline is more sensitive. Brain fog and low mood look a lot like hypothyroid symptoms, so you might assume I need more thyroid hormone, when in reality, your thyroid dose is okay, but your nervous system is overloaded. Imagine two women, both 48, both on the same dose of levothyroxine, both with TSH in range. One sleeps 7 to 8 hours most nights, eats mostly simple whole foods, walks a bit each day, has some stress but also some support. The other is up at 1 a.m. scrolling, grabs coffee and something sugary to survive the morning, sits most of the day, is under constant financial and family pressure, and eats whatever is fastest. Same dose, same lab range, completely different inflammatory landscape. Guess who's more likely to feel like their thyroid meds don't work? That doesn't mean it's her fault. It means we have to be honest. No pill can fully outrun an overloaded system. If we treat hypothyroidism like a simple refill your prescription once a year problem, a lot of people, especially over 40, juggling stress and aging and hormones, will stay stuck in brain fog and fatigue even with good labs. So the real question becomes, where in your life is inflammation being quietly fed through sleep, food, stress, or even unaddressed emotional pain, and how might that be blending with your thyroid picture? In Sarah's case, the turning point wasn't just adjusting meds, it was finally looking at her sleep, her workload, and the constant low-grade stress that had become normal. In the final bucket, we're going to zoom out further and look at the copycats, other health issues that feel exactly like hypothyroidism, but don't show up on a thyroid panel at all. If nobody checks for them, you can chase thyroid dose changes for years and still feel awful. For Sarah, this was the last piece of the puzzle, not instead of thyroid, but in addition to it. Here are a few big ones that commonly show up after 40. Anemia, especially iron or B12 deficiency,
Low iron or low B12 can cause crushing fatigue, breathlessness on stairs, hair loss, brain fog, even heart palpitations. That's also the hypothyroid symptom list. If no one has looked at your iron panel, ferritin, or B12 in a while, it's very easy to blame all of this on your thyroid. Vitamin D deficiency. Low vitamin D is incredibly common and is linked to low mood, low energy, muscle aches, and immune issues. Again, it can be labeled thyroid unless someone actually checks. Sleep apnea. This one is huge for the 40-plus crowd, especially if you snore, wake up unrefreshed, or have high blood pressure. Sleep apnea means your brain and body don't get enough oxygen at night. The next day, you feel foggy, exhausted, irritable, and you might assume my thyroid is off again, when in reality, your sleep is suffocating your energy. Perimenopause and menopause. Hormone shifts can cause hot flashes or cold intolerance, mood swings, weight changes, sleep issues, and brain fog, almost identical to hypothyroid symptoms.
If you're in your 40s or 50s, thyroid and sex hormones are often dancing together, not in straight lines. Depression, anxiety, and chronic stress, these are not all in your head. They are full-body states that change your hormones, your inflammation, your sleep, your appetite, your pain threshold. They can flatten your motivation and your energy until even simple tasks feel impossible. That's not weakness, that's physiology. Blood sugar issues and insulin resistance. If your energy crashes after meals, you get shaky or irritable when you're hungry, or you're being watched for prediabetes, that roller coaster alone can make you feel like your battery never holds a charge. For Sarah, two big copycats were anemia and sleep apnea. Once those were finally addressed, with her doctor, not alone, her thyroid symptoms improved dramatically, even though her thyroid dose barely changed. None of this means it's not your thyroid. It means it might be your thyroid and thyroid problems rarely travel alone. So what do you actually do with all of this without turning yourself into a full-time patient or spending a fortune on exotic testing? This is where we bring everything together into something practical you can write down. I call it the Still Tired on Thyroid Meds checklist. The goal is not to replace your doctor, but to spark a better, more focused conversation with them. At your next visit, you might say something like, "My TSH is in range, but in my daily life, I still feel very hypothyroid. Could we look at a few possible reasons for that together?" And then you walk through a few areas. First, medication basics. How am I taking my levothyroxine? Is it truly on an empty stomach, just with water, or is there coffee and supplements attached to it? How consistent is my timing? Would morning or night be easier for me to keep steady? Second, the depth of the thyroid panel. Have we ever looked beyond TSH, like free T4, maybe free T3, or thyroid antibodies if Hashimoto's is suspected or known? Third, the conversion and inflammation terrain. Are there signs of chronic inflammation, liver or gut issues, or a stress load that might be interfering with how I convert T4 to T3? Fourth, screening for the copycats. When was the last time we checked for anemia, iron, ferritin, B12, vitamin D, blood sugar, or, if it fits my stage of life, sex hormones? Based on my symptoms, like snoring, waking unrefreshed, headaches, or daytime sleepiness, should we at least consider an evaluation for sleep apnea? Fifth, mental health and life load. Can we talk honestly about mood, anxiety, and stress, not as character flaws, but as real health factors that might be blending with my thyroid symptoms? That's not being a difficult patient. That's being a partner in your own care. Now, let me leave you with one more question. If you stopped blaming your willpower and treated your symptoms as valid data, what is the very next question you would bring to your doctor or nurse practitioner? Write it down. Don't just think it. Before we finish, I need to be absolutely clear. I am not a doctor. This video is for education and general information only. It is not medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Do not change your medications, supplements, or treatment plan based on this video. Always talk to your own physician or qualified health provider about your specific situation. My opinion, after looking at many stories like yours, is this. Most people who are still exhausted with normal TSH are not broken and not imagining things. They're living at the intersection of partially controlled thyroid, unaddressed copycats, and the very real stress and aging of normal adult life. And no single pill can clean all of that up. But once you understand the buckets, absorption, consistency, conversion, inflammation, and imitators, you're no longer just hoping someone else figures it out for you. You have language, you have structure, you have questions. So here's your calm, personal call to action. Not like and subscribe, but something more important. Before today ends, choose one thing and actually do it. Adjust how you take your medication tomorrow so it has a fair shot at working. Write down 3 specific symptoms that bother you the most and how often they show up. Schedule or prepare for a conversation with your clinician using 1 or 2 items from the checklist. Or, if you are completely overwhelmed, simply decide, I'm allowed to take my own fatigue seriously. You don't have to fix everything this week, but choose one lever to move, one question to ask, one habit to tighten out. Because the real goal here is not a perfect lab number. It's getting more of your actual life back.